Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
So now you know why nobody after the chair.
Well, Corinne sent a note to me yesterday. And the cat house.
Hey, Eric, where are you, Dale?
Yeah. Last night I was up to, I was at 1:30.
Oh,
And then today I was in here early.
yeah.
Here comes happy go lucky.
Got to run on.
The serious
Did you
meeting.
get home okay without any hail or anything?
Oh, well, the sirens were blaring. the whole way home. And,
That's kind of nerve wracking too.
oh my goodness, it was frightening. And then we were in the basement for a while.
Mhm.
My
So
husband didn't
we-
want to go in the basement. He kept going outside.
Mary was the same way as me. I didn't want to go downstairs. She goes, "I'm going downstairs." So we did.
Well, that's why they.
The guy was like,
Going on.
Ken, how you doing?
How are you doing? How, when I get home and turn on the television, it looked like Sugar Grove and,
That tornado hit within a half mile of my house.
I mean, do you see the
Yeah,
pictures from
jumping.
Waubonsee College and
What?
I understood Waubonsee had some damage.
the tornadoes went right through there.
Okay.
And it hit and light poles are down there. There's a lot of damage.
I saw it as soon as you picked it up.
Corinne
Tony's looking.
had our kingdom. We were all on Zoom. And Corinne said that this place got it.
This
The
building.
government sent
Well, I
it.
don't know, I think, but maybe. They had the-
Oh, Lord, I'll tell you.
and then you get a little curveball on me again.
Maybe it should-
You got to have more beverage.
You know what? You're right.
And there were trees.
The real problem last night was I ran out of
Apparently
that.
nobody got hurt.
I said, I go like
They
this, I'm
didn't
like,
quite say they.
making fun of me, but I ran out. He told me at the beginning, he goes, you need more.
What'd they call those,
Microburst.
microbursts?
Yes.
That's it, yeah.
There was one guy on the campus that came out, his windows were smashed in.
6 hours.
Had been-
Turn the audio on, so whenever you want to.
Bob?
Yeah.
Morning, everyone.
9-hour meeting.
Am I on?
It is a. consecutive meeting. It has to be right.
Morning, good morning, good morning. I'd like to call a meeting of the King County Finance and Budget Committee for Wednesday, February 28th, 29th, 28th. Sorry, I lost a week. At 9:06 a.m.
That was a good week to lose.
Yeah. We have call to order, roll call, please.
Juby? Lewis?
Who's here?
Sanchez. Surges.
Surge is present.
Surges to be online, but
Can you hear me
I do
okay?
see him online. Mr. Surges, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me at all?
Pepe,
Happy here.
Leonard,
Leonard here.
Berman.
thank you.
You have an in-person quorum.
I can hear you, Cliff.
Chris could
Yeah,
hear
right.
me.
Oh.
Chris, can you let them know
Yeah.
that you can, but they can't?
Well, I'm online like you, so
Vote attendance
I don't think they can hear
request,
me.
Mr. Surges,
I'll put in.
because of a work problem, is online. If that's all right with everyone. That's the only notice I have. Surges.
He's online.
The approval of minutes for January 24th. Do we have a motion?
Leonard asked for unanimous consent for the minutes of January 24th, 2024.
We all agree?
Call Bill Leonard.
Anyone disagree? Then our minutes are approved by remote approval. Public comments? I see an absence of public comments this morning. Treasury report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you'd put up, let's see, it'd be page number 8. Just basically 3 things today. Number 1, the interest income is on schedule. First 2 months of the fiscal year, we've averaged $1.4 million. We're on schedule to exceed the $12 million that's projected in the budget. But you know that interest rates are basically unpredictable. The process that we use each month is that we gather all the bank statements. There are 38 bank accounts for the county. When I first learned that, I thought, well, why so many? At least half of them are for collecting tax payments, and so it's a convenience to our taxpayers. But the bank statements are gathered up. We put them into the report that we produce for you each month. Let's see, and if you'd put up the other slide, that's the interest income. Okay, thank you very much. So it's then put into the reports. You have both the balances and the income for those accounts, and then it's aggregated. As far as the accounting system that we use for reporting the interest income, last year for simplicity, we used just cash method. Whatever came in, that's what went onto the report. Now, I think that we're improving it slightly to a modified cash accrual system, which is also the change in the earned interest. So we don't count any future interest that might be earned, but only what's earned to date of the report that you receive. And then at the end, then once all those these reports are given to the board and are to the public, we also tie out everything to what's I think that we're getting that polished up. So let's see. And then at the end of the year, the auditors then audit all that work, and they make an adjustment for accrual accounting, which puts into place the market value of the investments that we have. Cash remains at the cash value, but the bonds, depending on where the interest rates are and the value of those bonds, are adjusted for our published financial statements, audited financial statements. So that's number one. Number two, the operating bank transition is approximately, I would judge about 99.5% complete. I'm going to be sending out a written report to board members, to department directors, elected officials. I'll send out that report about what was involved in that, how it basically went by Friday afternoon. And then the collection cycle is ongoing. I reported at the public service meeting that that's going according to schedule. We've met with the printer as far as printing the tax bills, and we're on schedule for that. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Mr. Chair, can you hear us yet?
Can hear you
Yep.
now.
Okay, thank you. Roger, they can hear us now. Thanks.
Any comments for the treasurer? Any questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Lawson. Ms. Wegman, auditor's report.
Morning, my report is on file. We did circulate the P card audit. So everybody should have had that in their email. Additionally, we are continuing with the new P card implementation. We should be at a point either at the end of this week or the beginning of next week where we'll be working with departments and offices to get everybody transitioned to their new P cards. We are waiting for the vendor to be set up properly through the treasurer's office, and then we will have a complete full test run on the new P card for one office. That's my report.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Tempe.
Ms. Wegman, when do you expect the P card process transitioning to new vendor to be complete?
I think it's going to be an ongoing process for some time. P cards will be distributed either at the end of this week or the beginning of next week, with the intent that departments and offices will be able to start utilizing their new P cards with Chase starting March 1st, excuse me. And then we will be holding on to Fifth Third a little bit longer, probably 2 more months or so. So I would say it's probably 2 to 3 more months before we fully complete with the P card transition.
So you get the job of having to audit 2 of them, right? Okay,
It is what it is, yes.
thanks.
Any other comment? We have a resolution approving the January 2024 claims paid of $16,177,980.99. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Juby,
Tepe seconds.
every second discussion.
Mr. Chairman, just one question. I noticed on page 46. Microphone. They had accounts payable. Microphone, please. Oh. I noticed on page 46, under claims paid, it was 23 million, I believe. I was just wondering if I was looking at the wrong page or what was going on there. At the bottom of page 46, it says accounts payable claims paid report for January 24, 2,977 payments, which were processed, resulting in net payments of $23,570,091.92.
Can you move on to a next resolution? I will go and verify the information and be back up shortly.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Did you want to wait until she got back?
Oh, okay, fine. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll take her a little while.
Yeah, she said move on and when she.
All right. We'll move on to the finance director's report. Hopkinson?
Mr. Chair, we have a motion on the floor. I don't think we can move on with a motion on the floor.
The unanimous consent, the committee is willing to wait for the auditor to come back.
Okay. Then I ask for unanimous consent to delay the motion until the auditor is back.
All right, I think everybody's in agreement. We have, thank you. Unanimous consent. Ms. Hopkinson.
Hello. Today's finance report, if we can have that up on the screen.
Any comments, any questions on the finance report?
No, I'm going to go through it if we can
Okay.
have it up on the screen.
Oh, okay.
I saw it up there earlier.
We got that.
What page, Kathy?
Page 112.
There we go. So the general fund operating revenues and expenses to date, we still have not yet closed out fiscal 2023. There's some last minute expenses that are going to be recorded, including today on your agenda, on the Finance Committee agenda, the Sheriff's Adult Correction Officers Collective Bargaining Agreement, which includes retroactive pay back to December of 2022. Our estimate of the financial impact for fiscal year 2023 for that retro pay is about $940,000. That would be for the wages, the payroll taxes, and the IMRF. So we will probably be taking a budget adjustment through for those at some point. So our 2023 forecast of expenses will go up from that 112.4 million. It'll go up about another million yet. And our revenue for fiscal 2023 was around 107. And this is the general fund general account, which is the main account of the general fund. Another piece of information that I wanted to start including in the monthly financial report is unearned revenue. So what is unearned revenue? It's cash that the county has received, but it has not yet been applied to an expense. And since we can't apply it to an expense, we can't actually earn the revenue. So the cash, it's cash that we have, but it sits in a liability account. And until we can identify expenses, we can't move it to revenue. So most of the ARPA money, as you know, we received, well, all of the ARPA money we received in cash up front, and we don't recognize it as revenue until we can identify expenses for it. The other big dollar amount that we have sitting in unearned revenue is the $2 million grant that the county clerk's office received. They have not yet determined how they are going to apply that $2 million to expenses. So it's currently sitting in a liability account. So I just wanted to point out those are two big dollar amounts. Next page. Again, just the highlights, the year-to-year comparisons of our main sales tax revenues, our select tax revenues, our sales taxes, our local use taxes, RTA sales tax. Everything is pretty much on trend, except as I've explained before, the personal property replacement tax. And if we can, I think I'm going to skip a few pages, and because I want to spend more time talking about the 2025 budget. But if we can keep going through this report. Actually go back one page to the list of collective bargaining agreements. one more page. Actually, since I prepared this, we have a few more collective bargaining agreements that have settled. The county, the clerk of the circuit courts asked me, I do have that, it's settled. The judiciary, public defender and court services recently settled. And then on today's finance committee agenda, the sheriff's corrections is on the finance committee for approval. That's that second one up there, PBLC. So next page. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, wanted to go through some highlights in the finance, purchasing, and payroll functions of the finance department. So we are putting our finishing touches on the 2024 budget. One of the things that we wanted to wait for was the reorganized county financial policies that passed the board yesterday, because we want to include those in the budget book. But then we should be ready to go and file it. And we're going to be submitting it for an award with the Government Finance Officers Association. The county has submitted the budget book for a budget award for the last 7 years and has received that certificate in each year. The 2023 annual audits continues to be underway. The auditors from Baker Tilly are going to be returning to our offices in a couple of weeks to finish their field work. And the team is feverishly working with everybody to get all of the information in to finish up the audit. The 2025 budget, we're going to be talking about in a moment. And just one of the internal things from the finance department that I wanted to highlight is that historically, the finance staff has prepared all of these salary and benefit calculations manually on spreadsheets for every department. So every time a position is added or a dollar amount is changed, we have to manually redo all the calculations for the departments. Our accounting software can actually automatically do all of those calculations for us, but we've never turned those features on. We are also working feverishly over the next month here with Tyler Technologies and with our county IT department staff and with our payroll staff to flip on all those features, get trained. And if this is successful, this could be a game changer and save hours upon hours of work that the county finance staff has had to perform every year. A lot of painful time. So we're looking for efficiencies. Forecasting, tomorrow we're going to kick off a meeting with a consulting firm to start bringing over the Adaptive Insights forecasting software that I used when I was at KDOT. We're going to start meeting tomorrow to try to put all of the rest of the county's financial information in there so that we can do forecasting for the rest of the county's revenues and expenses through Workday. Other thing that I wanted to highlight, again, we're trying to do all sorts of efficiencies in the finance department. We're continuing to test to see if there's a way that we can get all of the departments to do their journal entries electronically rather than manually. We're also working on, with the county IT department, to update our internal and external finance department web pages. The county's internal finance department website, we have the opportunity to put a lot of information in there, which could be very useful to a lot of the county departments. For example, best practice resolution templates for purchasing and budget adjustments and other things. And our friends in the state's attorney's office are working with us as we develop these best practice templates to review those templates And so then we can put them in this internal site so that other departments can then refer there and pull up best practice templates. Next page. So the purchasing department, there's a list of the items that they're working on. Also wanted to mention on the P cards, couple things. We are going to be, as Penny Wegman mentioned, rolling out the new P cards. We're going to be collecting the old P cards. Our purchasing director is going to be doing that with her staff herself, going out and physically collecting the old cards and then handing out the new cards from Chase. The other thing also related to P cards, but not necessarily related to Chase Bank, is that on an annual basis, we have all the departments across the county take a resolution to the finance committee. It actually doesn't go through the whole board. That's how our county policy is written. Just setting in stone the purchasing limit for each cardholder in each department. So that will be happening over the next couple of months. Also wanted to highlight that our purchasing department recently received an award, the agency certification award from the Universal Public Procurement Certification Council. And also in payroll, we continue to, again, work on trying to find efficiencies through automation. And that's the end of my report. If anyone has any questions.
Mr. Leonard first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Hopkinson, could you explain to me, you had said a few of the collective bargaining agreements have been resolved, and I was wondering if you could give me the percentage increase in the dollar amount on those new contracts?
So the one for court services is, I think, in your packet today.
Mm-hmm.
And the public defender.
Is the court services about a 9% increase?
I don't have the percent increase in front of me. I have the dollar impact in terms of the budget adjustment, but I don't have the percent increase at my fingertips right now.
Okay.
For the court services and the public defender. It's the same one. It's the same contract. Sorry about that.
No problem.
The sheriff's adult corrections, which is on the finance committee today, the 2023 increase is 8%, and the 2024 increase is 4%. And the 2023 retroactive pay amount is approximately $941,000. That includes wages and benefits, which we're going to record back as it impacts fiscal 23. We're going to put it on fiscal 23 expenses.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kathy?
Yes.
Last week, you sent out an email regarding a FOIA and bank reconciliation process. And in there, you said that the county finance department reconciles the county's accounting records to the bank statements, and that you do not have all of the bank statements from the treasurer's department. Where does that stand?
I checked as of this morning. We still don't have all of the bank statements yet. And when you do a bank reconciliation, you're reconciling the books, which is our books are our New World accounting software, to the bank statements.
Well, the county treasurer's here. What's the delay in getting this done?
There's a disagreement. There's a disagreement on whether first of all, whether there's a bank statement at all on there's an account that ends in 7647. That is a clearing account. We are doing our best. I'm preparing a memo to to try to further explain and to have other people outside of the county further explain how, that account works. The statement has been made that, there's $44 million that's not accounted for. I'm sorry, but in my opinion, that's inaccurate. Not only is it accounted for, back into April of last year, but we're also, the proof of that is that we're also earning interest on that 44 million. So we have, a different perspective. I'm going to try again to reduce my thoughts and my staff's thoughts to writing. We received a spreadsheet of 134 rows. We answered every question of those 134 rows. And the next thing I got was 44 pages, 11 sections of 4 deep of further questions where a lot of those questions were already answered. And I will do my best to what I find is most helpful in financial information is simplifying things. But the complexities of copious spreadsheets, I don't think that is most helpful, just from my opinion. So what I've done is I've asked for spreadsheets to perhaps answer some of those questions. Maybe I'm speaking one language and accounting speaking another language, and I appreciate the difference in languages. So I'm going to try to convert to what I consider a more complex. One is 11 pages of spreadsheet on just one account. I'll do my best to make it as clear as possible. And I'll also bring other people who perhaps are more expert than I am, but I have been doing this for 50 years to try to make it as clear as possible. And so I think that Kathy and I and our respective staffs are working together on it.
I'm sorry, I don't understand that answer, okay? I don't care about spreadsheets and numbers and things of that nature. It seems to me that the process is that you should provide a copy of the bank's statement to Kathy's department, and that should be the regular procedure. How far behind is that, Kathy?
For when the transitions were made, and I do agree, we want to collaborate and get this completed. When the investments were transferred in April of 2023 from the 3 existing management firms, which were Stifel, Raymond James, and Truist, to US Bank, there were several accounts opened up with US Bank. And during the month of April, 44.5 million was transferred into one of those accounts on April 25th, 2023. And on the same day, April 25th, 2023, 44.5 million was transferred out. And when you look at the detailed statements, it indicates that the money was transferred out to another US Bank account. And we have the last 4 digits of that bank account that are listed on that statement. But we don't have the statements for that other account going all the way back to April.
Are these a minor number of transactions, or are we talking about a major amount of actions where you've got to do a tremendous amount of reconciliation?
Well, we haven't been able to reconcile going back to April because we don't have the statements.
So we're talking about April of 2023, 10 months now?
Yes.
Okay.
This is, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, may I respond to that? First of all, Mr. Tepe, you've mentioned that you don't care about spreadsheets and all those numbers. All you want is a certain thing. Well, there's a whole, and you're familiar enough with how that kind of statement I don't know, it diminishes perhaps the complexity, although it tries to make it simple. The account that is being referred to of the money coming in and the money going out is a wire clearing account. And it's for the further benefit of the account where those funds land. Again, observation was made that when the management firms were, when we moved away from the earlier management, they were not management firms, they were brokerage firms, and now it's over to a custodial bank with investment managers. Both the chairman and the vice chairman and a committee of folks interviewed for those people. Transition was made. Again, I'm putting together the spreadsheets that you might not care about. And I know that I don't care about spreadsheets and all. Sorry, that's I think that we can use, several kinds of approaches. Right now, I think that the Treasury and accounting are trying to work together. The idea that it's that it's open since April is just not accurate. You can ask the custodial bank, you can ask people who are expert investment management. There are not bank statements for the clearing account. Now, what I have done instead is I've generated an 11-page small print spreadsheet because, again, adopting a different language from the custodial. It's an extraordinary explanation. They don't do this in any of their other hundreds of clients who they take care of, but they've generated for us so that we can send it over to accounting. Where in other cases where there was, that account is not, what we do is we put those bank statements onto what's called a shared drive. And for instance, in one of the requests that we got last week, that was 11 items long. One of the items was, there's not a bank account there. The bank account is there and it's identified. I don't know how to respond to it's not there when it actually is there.
Okay,
All
let me be a bit more specific. And when I say I don't care about spreadsheets prepared by your department are not documents that the finance department can use for
No, they're their spreadsheets.
May I finish, please, sir?
They're their spreadsheets. Your premise is wrong.
So finishing spreadsheets does not relate to the fact that you need to provide the original documents from the bank, and they're saying they haven't gotten all of them since April. That's a bit crazy. I'd like to understand, we have Kane County Speak coming here and talking about our county clerk, talking about our Madam Chair. And here we've got reconciliation that has not been done for 10 months. And we sure don't hear them speaking and asking questions about that. Maybe it's time for them to come in and start asking questions and let them yell at you instead of yelling at us.
Okay, if I can just final thought on that. First of all, it's been my practice for, decades that we don't yell a lot, period. I don't yell a lot, period. I think that the premise, several premises in your statements are inaccurate according to statute and county ordinance. We provide bank reconciliations from bank statements to accounting. They use, and this is how it's been for years. My predecessor, 2 years before that, I think about 20 years. Each month, the treasurer is charged with producing a bank reconciliation that then is given over to the accounting. Accounting then prepares the financial statements from those bank reconciliations. If there are any further questions, then when the outside auditors come, they can come to the treasurer's office, where the bank statements are kept by statute. I don't think that it's the role of the accounting department to do the external auditor's auditing role of the treasurer's office. If there's ever any doubt about the accuracy of anything that I'm providing, I'm happy to have the outside auditors, Baker Tilly, come in and take a look at any of our files. And again,
Being
it's
done for
everything is
years,
tied
it's been
out
done
to
the
the
same
penny.
way for years. Why aren't you doing it that way now?
No, it is being done that way. It is being done that way. I don't want to enter into an argument with my partner over in accounting, but when they're provided bank reconciliations on a specific form that I think has been used for decades, the idea that then they're going to further audit based on source documents, I think is an expansion of what their responsibilities are.
I believe it's up to this committee to determine what its responsibilities are in relationship to audit. And it certainly appears to me that that is not happening. And we are responsible for seeing that those kinds of things occur, and allowing us to continue is not the kind of thing that I on this committee want to see happen. And if the rest of the members do, I'm going to be very, very surprised at them.
You are wrong, Mr. Tepe. It is not the function of this committee to rewrite state law and county ordinance. County ordinances, yes, but the
Didn't
county
say that.
code. No, you're saying that it's up to this committee,
To oversee.
yes, to oversee, but not to determine what the responsibilities. Those are set by state statute. Treasurer's responsibilities, accounting department responsibilities, and we're following those.
Well, I think we're
I'm done
talking
with
around
this.
the issue
I'm
here.
done with this.
The issue is that the treasurer or the finance director has asked for specific statements. And those statements either exist or they don't exist. If they exist, then there's no reason why the treasurer does not supply our finance department with those statements. It can't be that much of a problem. And that's the issue that we're talking about. All the spreadsheets and 44 pages and whatever is not important. What we're looking for basically are the statements that she can use to then balance with for our
Right.
auditors.
And if, thank you for that clarification, Mr. Berman, Chairman Berman. That's correct. And the center of the, let's call it, of the concern is an account that ends in 7647. As I think you accurately stated, they either exist or they don't exist. Bank statements either exist or don't exist. The answer to that question is they do not exist. There are no such things as a bank statement for that clearing account. So the adjustment that we've made is that we've gone to, I asked the folks at the custodial bank to do an extraordinary thing. They don't do it for any of their other clients, to put a flow statement together. And that's the 11-page small print spreadsheet that I know folks don't want to hear about. I didn't want to hear about it earlier, but I think that may be helpful. I hope it is. But the question, you clarified it nicely by saying they either exist or don't exist. In the case of the main concern, that statement does not exist. It is not produced by a bank. So I think that we're in the process of supplying the next best thing.
Mr. Chair, I take it from that the treasurer is saying that he has provided all of the bank statements that he has to this shared drive so that they are accessible by our finance department. Would you agree with that, Mr. Chair?
Sounds like it, yes.
So all of those are there.
Well, if a statement doesn't exist, it's pretty hard to produce one.
That wasn't my point. My point was, are all of the other statements up on the shared drive?
I don't know personally. I would hope and assume they are. We certainly can't produce
just if
something
I
that
could-
doesn't.
Just
Yes.
if I can, there's a list, of, statements where we don't have all the pages for all the statements. And the treasurer's office has that list. The chair and the finance chair, the chair and the vice chair of the finance committee have that list where we have statements, but we don't have all the pages of all the
Yeah.
statements. And what I would say, a couple things. First of all, the reconciliation process, by county code, the finance department is responsible to reconcile the general ledger for the county to the bank. And that is done by looking at third-party documents, which are bank statements. And in particular, with the significance of the amount of money that we're talking about here, for the month of April, when you're trying to reconcile the month of April, at the end of the month, we do not have a document that shows where 44.5 million is. Because the statement that we do have shows that it was transferred out. So if US Bank is able to provide some sort of third-party document showing us where the 44.5 million is at the end of April of 2023, that would be helpful. And then going forward, because there's transactions in and out of this clearing account throughout the rest of the year. So we would need that for every month going forward, as well as the missing pages of the other bank statements.
Okay, if I can respond to that to clarify, all pages of the bank statement, the problem is that the pages that are not on the shared drives are extraneous information like disclaimers, disclosure statements, regulatory, small print that comes in the end of, like our own bank statements, where there is a form where you can reconcile your bank account. That is not something that I think that we should put more noise into. We're trying to simplify and streamline so you don't provide pages that are extraneous to understanding the condition or the activity in a bank account. So the other one is like, for instance, cleared checks, copies of those clear checks. Again, those are available for the outside auditors. Again, I respectfully submit to the whole group, including accounting and finance, that it's not the role of accounting and finance to audit. That's what we have an external auditing firm for. So those statements, it's fair to me, it's misleading, and it can be twisted for whatever purpose, that all pages are not there. The pages that are not there are extraneous examples, again, of what I mentioned. So you just don't provide those kinds of things.
Mr. Chair, if they're just extraneous, why aren't they there? They can be ignored by anybody. So how can an audit function or a reconciliation function be done when all the pages aren't there? Doesn't make sense.
This sounds like a procedural problem. Can it be taken offline and Mr. Lawson and Ms. Hopkins?
44 million doesn't sound procedural to me.
No, but it's the procedural difference is what I'm hearing. And let them work it out instead of taking up time in this committee meeting.
I will just add that we have been trying to work on this since last fall.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, may I ask a
Julie?
May I ask a question? I appreciate what Mr. Roth has said, but I've never had experience with this, and I don't really know how custodial accounts work. But is it possible to move that $44.5 million out of its current custodial account and move it into an account that perhaps better aligns to the things that we're asking for, which would generate a statement, but still allow us to do what we're using that account for?
I need to answer.
Please.
Okay. It was either that day or the very next day, it went to an account that's the last four digits 0635. So it already happened. I believe that we've provided almost redundant information along those lines. It has not been sufficient to communicate, so that the communication is understood properly. But that's why, so to answer your question directly, it was within either that day or the next day, it was put into the account where it has been earning interest since April. And so again, for either the third or fourth time, to speak in a language that perhaps what I'm saying will be better understood by the person receiving it, we've put together with the help of the custodial bank a flow. It's not a bank statement, but a flow of what came in and when it came in and where it went out. I think that your question was it moved? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. My question is, can it be moved? Not was it moved, but can we move it to an account that would better meet
Well, we don't want to do that.
things that we're asking?
It already is. It already was. I don't know.
Okay, can we
So
try to
the
rephrase it
sense
a
of-
different way? We have expectations that our accounts will generate statements based on the way we have our finance system set up. Is there a way to move this money into an account that would provide us with the statement that aligns with our current best practices? It's actually just a yes or a no, if we can move it or we cannot move it.
See, the premise is wrong. It is already an account that fits what the desire is. It's like, see, if I answer that one way, it's inaccurate. If I answer it the other way, it's inaccurate. So it was, the sense of what you're asking for, I believe, is yes. Is it, can it, was it?
Yeah.
Yes, but that was done that day or the next day. And it's in an account for our benefit that day or the following day, back on April 26th of 2023.
Because we were talking about a clearing account that money would go into and then come out of and go to posted to other different accounts.
And
But that, that's the way a clearing account works. All we're really looking for and all we're really asking for or needing, according to Kathy, is a statement from that account, which Mr. Lawson says does not exist. So therefore, if it doesn't exist, we can't use it for an audit standpoint. What he's doing, he's giving us all the information that was transferred out of that account that we then would have to go back and look at all that to determine.
I was just asking if it was possible to move it to a different type of custodial account that would give us, perhaps with a different bank, that would give us the information that we were asking. That's all I was asking.
Right. Well, that account has been cleared. And so it's really be impossible to put everything back in there.
So we cannot move the money into
But
another
the
account.
detail
I'll
of transferring
add-
out is available. Kathy?
So the money went in and it went into one US bank account on April 25th. And then on that same day, the 44.5 million went to this other account with the last four digits. I think we're trying to not mention the account numbers online, but it went to another account. And then in May, throughout the month of May, some of that money, about $41 million, came back into the original statement. And then in June, some more came back in to the original statement, but then transactions continued back and forth. And without having, third-party documentation, it was I was taught, you reconcile from the books to an actual third-party document, a bank statement. We can't really verify where that money is on a given day. So when you close the books and when you add up all the balances on all the bank statements at the end of the month of April, it's $44.5 million off because we don't have a statement. But to what Leslie Juby is saying, I think that's actually a really excellent idea. And that is there a way to have this wire clearing account? Because it's going to continue to be used as what I can see looking at the other statements, because there's transactions to that account and transactions coming back in from this account that we don't have the statements for. Can that type of account be changed so that it can generate bank statements so that we can see and verify where the money is?
Hey, Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Deputy.
a few moments ago, Ms. Hopkinson said that she has been working for months to try to get this resolved to no avail. So I would respectively request that you, as chair of this committee, meet with with these two key departments, and that you decide and you resolve it. Because if they aren't cooperating, how can we balance our books? How can we reconcile? How can Kathy do her job? So I suggest that you do it, and believe me, I'll bring it up next month.
Very good. Mr. Leonard and I have both met with Kathy and with our treasurer, so that, but we will continue on.
Well, if you're not getting it done, what do we do, Mr. State's Attorney?
Well.
Oh, my
God.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
God.
Well,
That's not the issue.
Jesus, Fern.
the issue, I think the data is there. I think we just need to make sure that it's transmitted from the treasurer to finance department. That's all. And that's working with Kathy and Mr. Lawson.
Doesn't sound like they're working together at all.
Well, obviously it takes time to make things happen. It doesn't happen overnight. Any other discussion on, where are we? Oh, budget presentation.
Yeah, the budget. The budget. Okay.
Oh,
If we can have,
yeah,
if we can
go
have,
back to, Ms. Wegman to, finish her, answer the question.
Hi. So when we look at the resolution, it's actually the January resolution as opposed to the February resolution. So the dollar amount that is on the claims paid report of the 23 million is the appropriate amount. So I believe in speaking with SAO Frank that that there could be an amendment to change it to the proper dollar amount, as well as the title being February as opposed to January.
Perfect. Yeah, I'd like to move that we change that amount on the resolution to the 23 million. I don't have the.
$23,570,091.92.
Thank you.
Sanchez seconds.
In the title of the resolution also.
And SAO Frank, just so we're clear, it'll be in both locations, both under the whereas, the third paragraph, as well as the therefore paragraph. And then the title will also be changed.
Great. You need a second on that?
Sanchez seconds.
For January of 2024 claims paid,
February.
February. All right.
So, Mr. Berman, we need discussion on the motion to amend.
I have nothing to
Do
say
we
about it.
understand what we're doing?
Then you need a vote.
What are we doing?
We just corrected the amount from, I think it was 16 million to 23 million.
You have not corrected it until there's a vote to amend.
Well, that's what we're
That's what we're working on.
processing right now.
That's
what I'm saying.
The draft resolution by changing the amount and the title as in the discussion.
We are
Thank
awake.
you.
We are awake today. This is good.
But this is January 24.
It's actually,
We, claims paid were paid.
But it's for February.
Fine. Any other discussion? Does everybody understand? Roll call, please.
This is for the amendment. Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis, Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Burgess, yes.
Pepe,
Happy yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Burn, yes.
Is amended.
Very good. Now we're, Now we need to move on the claims paid as amended.
The
Do
resolution.
we have a motion?
Sanchez moves.
Leonard seconds.
You know, we did.
Wait,
well,
wait.
Wait,
we already had that open.
We had a motion.
That's already open, isn't it?
Begin with the amendment passed, and now.
We need a motion to.
The amended resolution.
So open.
Amended. So you just said, there's no further discussion.
Hold on.
All right.
Roll call on
Okay.
the amended.
So that's what I was alluding to earlier, but we've just been informed that it's actually, it is in fact January, so we need to amend it back. We aren't awake today. Never, I take that back.
The title.
Phrase non pro tum comes to mind.
That's what I was thinking.
What's intended to do.
I think they call it brain fog.
Just amend it back so there's not an issue next month.
So you're saying that the amendment should not be made.
Well, you already voted the amendment through.
Now we're amending the amendment.
That's why I'm
Change the title.
shaking my head. So
That is no takebacks.
the issue was that we were of the belief that this was the February claims, but in further looking, Ms. Wegman has realized it's January. So you only need to amend the title back to January, and then we need to take a substantive vote, which is what I was trying to allude to Mr. Berman earlier.
Sanchez moves to amend it back to January.
Tepe seconds.
A discussion?
We do a voice vote on
I
this?
just want to,
Ms. Julie?
just want to make a clarification.
Just
So we are changing it from February to January, but we're keeping the amended amount of 23 million, blah, blah.
The $23 million is the proper dollar amount. It
Okay.
is the January because we are paying last month's bills.
Got it. Thank you.
Without objection.
Mr. Leonard?
Yeah, just to clarify everything, I hope, so that we all understand what we're doing here. We're not changing the title. We're leaving the original title, January 2024, and changing the dollar amount.
That will be the ultimate end of all this, but what you're doing right now is amending it back from February to January.
That's what this amendment is doing.
Yes.
I think
Voice vote on this.
we
All
could
those,
do a voice vote.
all those in favor of the amendment of the
Aye.
Aye.
January to February.
And now we're on to substantive.
All right, is there anyone against? All right. Now we'll,
You guys
have
are
a
killing me,
roll
man.
call vote on the original motion as amended. As amended, as amended.
Amended.
Could we call the roll, please?
Juby,
Should be aye.
Lewis. Oh, shoot, you left.
He left.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Yes, I think.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Perfect, yes.
Passes.
Now we'll go back to the
Budget presentation.
finance director's budget report, or presentation.
Right, and that should be, I think you've got a separate PDF for that. Or if you just want to go to the page in the, there we go.
There we go.
306.
If you can make it a little bigger, yeah, thank you. So as we talked about at the cow, my recommendations at the cow, I put those recommendations into a 2025 budget plan. So if we can go to the next page. One of the requests that was asked at the cow was, can I provide a rough estimate of 2025 revenues and expenses? This is a rough estimate. The assumption that I used is that there's a 3% increase in revenues and expenses, and that we'd begin transferring for later in this presentation. I assume that we wouldn't start transferring monies to the capital projects fund until the 2026 budget. So if we just want to go through this page real quick, the 2023 is actual to date as when I prepared this, which is a couple weeks ago. So as I mentioned, the 2023 numbers do not yet include the additional expenses that are on today's Finance Committee agenda for the sheriff's, adult corrections officers, retro pay of about $940,000. So that will be added to the 2023 expenses and make the gap between 23 expenses and 2023 revenues a little larger. the, so I have a modest increase in 2025 revenues and a very modest increase in expenses. I really only increased the wages and the benefits. Contractual services and commodities, I kept essentially flat in order to balance to revenues, because I started with the revenues. So if revenues were going to go up 3%, I couldn't have expenses go up more than that. And in fact, we could, the board could decide to even lower that, because in order to balance the 2025 expenses with an increase of 3%, we would need to use $11 million of fund balance. If you look on the revenue side, I have 11 million. So currently in this year's budget, we're using about 9.6 million to balance, 9.6 million of fund balance to balance the budget. In 2023, we're going to finish up the year. It's now probably going to be closer to 5.6, maybe $5.7 million of fund balance that we use to balance the 2023 budget. So every year, until we have either more revenues or less expenses, we will continue to use a larger portion of fund balance. So next slide. Actually, go back one more slide. One thing I wanted to point out, in the expense side of the budget, CaneCom, which their activities are in a separate fund of the county, they receive subscriber revenue from the various entities across Kane County that subscribe to use their services. They also provide services to our own sheriff's office. For the last several years, in order for the CaneCom Special Revenue Fund to balance its own budget, it's required a transfer from the general fund. So that is one thing to note that I wanted to point out for your attention. So next page. If you forecast out, we've talked before about the excess reserves that the county currently has in its general fund because we used so much ARPA money to pay staff salaries, CARES Act and ARPA Act money from 2022, 2021, and 2020, 2021, and 2022. Since we had an infusion of about $30 million of CARES and ARPA Act money into the general fund, we built up this, and we didn't use our regular tax revenue to pay salaries. We built up this reserve, so we have this excess reserve. So at the end of 2022, our total general fund reserves were 98 million. It's dropped to 86 million at the end of 2023. That's going to go down a little bit more once we book these collective bargaining agreement salaries. So it dropped, it's going to be dropping about 14, 15 million. And that is for two reasons. The general fund, as we've talked about before, the general fund has sub-accounts. The general fund general account is where all of the, basically all the day-to-day stuff, the revenues and expenses flow through. All of these other special reserve and public building commission are other reserve type funds. The domestic violence, economic development, and cost share drainage are very small little funds. They don't have a lot of activity. But we used reserves during 2023. We used 8 million of reserves to buy the election equipment for the county clerk's office. And that came out of our special reserves. So that's why that dropped. So as you look forward year after year after year, and we have a policy that says we want to maintain 90 days of reserves. And I've got a row there that shows what 90 days of the reserves is based on, it's 90 days of your subsequent year expenditures, then it's an easy calculation. How many reserves do you have in excess of your 90-day reserves? So we had 68 million excess the end of 2022. The end of 2023, we're going to have 56 million excess. By the end of 2024, unless we have, again, unless we do a better job of not spending money, or we have additional sources of revenue that come in. And I will point out on today's agenda, the Court Services Department was able to secure an example of additional revenue. The Court Services Department was able to secure additional funding from the state to reimburse staff salaries. So that's a reduction of our need to use our fund balance. So that's a great thing. So unless we have other sources of revenue to a significant degree, or we cut expenses, we're going to continue eating away at our excess revenues. And if we do a very modest 3% increase every year, we will essentially burn through those excess reserves by the end of 2027. And then we'll go in the red on the excess reserves and actually start in 2027 and 2028, start actually digging into our 90-day reserves. So let's go to the next slide. And again, these are all estimates. These are all estimates, of course, because we could have, you know, as I've said before, the state could change some rules. We could get some new grants. There's all sorts of possibilities of things that could happen that could change either our revenues or expenses, but just based on what we know today. And then here's just a graphic, a bar graph of the information that I was just talking about, how our fund balance built up from 2020 through 2022, and then how it's slowly coming down if we continue as is. Next slide. I was also asked after the cow, what is the interest earned history? And so I presented this last fall. This is the interest earned going back to 2007. And as you can see, over time, it fluctuates. And in 2021 and 2022, we had negative numbers. And I'll just address that once again as it relates to market value. So for our audited financial statements, we are required by our Governmental Accounting Standards Board pronouncements to mark the value of our investments to market value. And the offsetting entry is interest earned. So if the value of our investments, if the value of our investment portfolio is lower than the cost, we have to reduce it on our financial statements so that the readers of our financial statements understand the value of our investments. What we see happening for 2023, and again, we haven't finalized everything because we need to finish that reconciliation process. Because the value of our investment portfolio has actually increased in 2023 compared to 2022. So at the end of 2022, the value of our investment portfolio was about $9 million under. It looks like it's about 5. Don't quote me on that number, but about 5 million under. So actually, our 2023 financial statements, the amount that gets reported as interest earned will actually be greater than the actual interest that we earned, because we can, I'm speaking accounting talk here, but we will be able to reverse a portion of last year's markdown because it's gone back up. So that's good news for reporting interest earned. And in the back of this packet, I have an exhibit with the, it was also asked, what is the interest earned for all of the funds across the county? And I applied the information that has been discussed at a lot of our meetings about which funds should retain their interest earned and which funds can't really have their interest earned transferred to other funds. So all of that detail is in the back of the packet. And if you look at that, you know, the big funds, the general fund, our reserve funds, our capital projects funds, and the ARPA fund, and our transportation department funds. Those are the biggest funds in terms of the amount of interest that they're earning. But really the only funds that you can take interest away from would be the general fund itself, which I don't think you want to do that. Our reserve funds, again, which I don't think you want to do that, or capital. So then other than that, it's really ARPA. And we've already transferred some of the ARPA interest to the general fund for the 2024 budget. There will continue to be some ARPA money, ARPA interest earned. But as you know, we're spending down the ARPA fund. So in a matter of a couple of years, we won't have interest earned on ARPA because the ARPA money will be gone. I think we're under 50 million right now in cash, if I'm not mistaken. So next page. So, and this is, you know, up for discussion, but with the finance committee and the board, but the suggested budget priorities for 2025, and I wanted to provide this information. So the state of Illinois has already issued its official letter through the Illinois Department of Revenue of what their consumer price index is for PTEL purposes, and their report has 3.4%. And they issued this report in January. They issue it in January every year. The investment income, I think what we've been talking about is that an investment income on specific funds would be transferred to the capital projects funds, estimated at perhaps 1 to 2 million, as a way to fund capital projects currently, because the general fund is under such tight constraints. Expenses, if the county is going to consider keeping expenses where they are, I think we have to address the issue of vacant positions again and how they impact department budgeting. This is just a recommendation that is being made to the finance committee and board. And that would be that for the 2025 budget, departments with 50 employees or less, if they need a vacant position at all, they're held to 1. This is a guide, and departments with more than 50 employees can only budget 4. Because in the 2024 budgets, we had departments that were budgeting 20 and 30, higher 30 positions, vacant positions. And I think I've talked enough about how that impacts budgeting and how departments use their budget line items. The assumption would be a 2.5% increase for non-union personnel, and that the budget would also include a contingency budget for union personnel. And right now we're looking at the general fund utilizing $11 million to balance the budget. And my recommendation to the board is that a decision be made upfront now on the revenue side of the budget. It can be what I have in this presentation, 125 million, or it can be less. But the expenses in the current, and I'm focusing on the general fund because really that is the only fund where we have a problem balancing. We do not have a problem really balancing in any other funds and departments across the county. It's the general fund, but it's where 3/4 of all the employees are. So if we don't start off with making a decision on revenue, we're already at the same place where we were last year. And it's really no help to any of the departments. I think the departments would rather just know where the board wants to start, and then the departments and offices can go about putting their budgets together. And next page. This would be a calendar, a recommended calendar, where the board provides consensus on where they want to go with the revenue for 2025 and some other of these policies. And we'd start having kickoff meetings in mid-March. And the other recommendation that I had was that the departments do their goal setting first rather than last. Historically, I don't think the board has really ever been presented the goal forms that are included in our budget book by any of the departments. I think it would be a best practice to do that, and a best practice to do that first. Because if you're in the process of working on your goals, you're already thinking through what you need and what you don't need. And then in the month of April, our finance staff can work with all of the departments to finalize the number of positions that they want in their 2025 budget. And then in mid-April and mid-May, we open up our budget module where the departments can enter their contractual services, commodities, and capital. And they provide us with their mid-year revenue projections for their charges for services and fees and fines. And then at the end of May, the finance staff is reviewing all of the information that's submitted to make sure it's complete, it's accurate, things are spelled out correctly, it all reconciles. And then in June, the offices and departments can meet one-on-one. This again is just a recommendation. Offices and departments meet one-on-one with the chair and the vice chair of their home committee. In July, the departments can present their budgets to the entire home committee. And then in August, finance is presenting a final budget to the finance committee. And then your typical steps after that, with a finish in October. And I think this is my last slide. Yes. So these are my recommendations for how the 2025 budget is approached this year. I'm looking for guidance from the finance committee to start on what we want to do with the general fund.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Judy.
So I really like the budget timeline. I hope that we can stick to it. I have some questions on page 311 about the vacant positions. I understand our role as a governance body is to allot a budget to each department and allot budgets to the electeds in a manner to allow them to do their operating as they see fit. I have a question about why, well, I have a question where we came up with the one vacant position for under 50 and 4 for over 50. But my question more is a philosophical question. how can we decide how many personnel a department needs to be efficient? That to me seems like that's the utmost micromanaging that we could possibly do. I understand we need to prevent having 30 vacant positions, but I also know that just because it's budgeted doesn't mean it gets spent. And so it does tend to kind of straighten itself out at the end of the year. So if we're having problems with it getting spent, if it's not for vacant positions, is there a way we can create a place to put that money where it can only be used if a person actually gets hired?
Right. So I'll
do
answer
that
your
already.
first question. So how did I come up with one? As I go out and talk to the offices and departments over the last many months, and I've talked about this concept of the constraints on the general fund and what do we do about vacant positions. It's been a common discussion. Well, let's just hold vacant positions to 8%. Like you can't have any more than 1%. So that came up in a lot of my discussions with the offices and departments. How I came up with 1 is because if you apply 2%, and I was using 2%, for the smaller departments, you're getting like 1/8 of an employee. So you have to actually go up to 50 if you're just counting on number of employees. You have to go up to 50 in order to generate 1 position if you're multiplying by 2%. So that's where I came up with this. And yes, it's very difficult to know what you need. I mean, there is a process in place to create a new position at any time throughout the year. We have that position. The board can do that. It's in our new compensation policy for the non-elected departments anyway. Yeah, it's very difficult with the constraints of the budget because departments need resources to do their jobs, but we also need to maintain a balanced budget. And then the second part of your question was, remind me again.
If we could place money set aside for the
yeah.
vacant position into
Do
an
that.
account that could
So-
only be used for a vacant position.
So we did that. So the county did that in 2020. 3 in the 2023 budget, and they put the Safety Act positions in a separate place in the budget. And then as those departments and offices filled those positions, the money was just moved. From a standpoint of having a control, it's really not that. It really wasn't an effective form of a control because the departments had access to that money anyway. They just had to ask for it subsequent to the budget process. They had to ask for it to be moved out of the one line item to another line item. And the money had already been budgeted. So if you're trying to control spending, that particular tool didn't really act as like a control to prevent spending. So I would say this is where, if you can start with a guide and a goal, the board can always decide to allow a specific department to have more than vacant positions. But I think we have to start, based on circumstances, but I think we need to start from somewhere. Those are just my thoughts.
Mr. Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Juby, with respect to your question about can we set up another account or something so that excess money isn't spent? I think what we need to do is consider setting up an ordinance. I know in years past, there have been departments that have had $500,000 or more surplus at the end that have decided to give those dollars as bonuses, year-end bonuses.
Yes.
And I think that's got to be stopped. So there's got to be a way we could set up an ordinance that said the monies for your payroll can only be used for people in payroll, not for bonuses or stipends or anything else at year end. And then if there's an excess, which there are in many departments, that money would come back to the general fund.
But doesn't change the budgeting process.
No, and it, if you don't mind, I'd like to say, I really like the idea here of figuring out our revenues first and then applying that to the expenses. That's the way any business runs itself. And I think we should run, Kane County government as a business. So I commend Ms. Hopkinson on the revenue approach and then figuring out the expenses. I do see one little problem with expenses, and that is if in fact the different labor contracts are going up anywhere from 4 to 9%, and we're looking at a 2.5% increase for the non-union people, it will be very difficult to stay to a 3% expense increase. But I think that's something that we need to address and we need to do.
Thank you. Mr. Frank?
SEO Frank, just as a quick aside, in regards to policies set by the county board with the change of the ordinance under 248 at the end of last year, you guys now have clear authority to have dictates over department heads for those type of policies. You wouldn't even need an ordinance. You would just simply have to do a policy change. No different than the HR policies that you passed, I think last month or the month before. So there is a legal avenue for all of you to do such if that's what you would like to do.
Thank you. Mr. Surges has his hand up. Mr. Surges?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I'm wondering is, and maybe Kathy has already put this out there and I've just missed it, but what is the total dollar amount with these unfilled positions? Do we have a projected figure that's out there? I don't want us to be doing this frivolously, and I'm a huge proponent of getting this under control. But I want to make sure that that it's a mountain and not a molehill, and when we're looking at this, because I don't want this to be, I don't want to beat this up if it's really an insignificant amount, but I think this is a big amount, and I think we should all be aware of that.
In terms
What
of,
amount are we talking about?
The vacancies.
Oh, the vacancy. Oh, very good.
so
Thank you.
in the 2024 budget, there's about 3 million of vacant positions. So it was quite a big number, which is why if that can be reduced in the budget itself in the line items, the larger departments in particular, the larger the departments, the more likely they have more turnover because they have just more people. And when you have turnover, that means you have days, weeks, months, perhaps, where you don't have a position filled. So you essentially have that money available. And when you have a lot of vacant positions on top of that, you have all of that excess money available to you as well. So I think if you can reduce the number of vacant positions, and you have turnover anyway, hopefully not too much turnover. Nobody likes a lot of turnover. But it should work out where you can manage your budget with a smaller number of vacant positions, because you're really not at full capacity all 365 days of the year. You don't have every single position, including all of your vacant positions, filled all year round.
Mr.
Kathy,
Roth,
thank you. I do think that $3 million is a significant number, and I appreciate this committee trying to put some guardrails in place. So I appreciate that.
Mr. Roth.
I have 3 points. I'm going to jump to the last one because it just came up. That 3 million, from the budget, and it's hearsay, so I don't have facts, but some departments, because they have enough in there, they're using it in other accounts because they're able to do that. I think we should have a guideline that every quarter or I'm just throwing out the idea. If they didn't use it first quarter, then that money gets reassigned back to, the general fund. Because if they didn't pay someone for the first quarter, that to me is surplus money.
Thank you.
That's one thing.
Oh, one.
Okay. The other was, on Kathy's, suggested budget priorities. The one regarding more than 50, I would stagger that. I wouldn't jump from 1 to 4, is maybe from 51 to 100, maybe it's 2 or whatever. And that's a guideline. So if a department comes and has a valid reason for needing more, then they have to sell it to the board, right? I don't want to go down where, well, rules are rules and we can't modify that. So I just, throwing that out, that we need to be flexible when we need to, but when the exception becomes the norm, then we're not doing it correctly. And then the third was a question going back when Kathy was talking about surpluses. And I'm going to state what I heard, just to confirm. At the end of 22, we had a 98 million surplus. Excess was 68 million. And I know 23 will change slightly, but we had 86 million surplus and a 56% excess. What's the estimate for 24? Now, I know an hour later it can change.
Let's go back to that. Let's go back a couple slides.
Okay.
Go back, I think 2 slides before this slide.
308, page 308.
One more slide, go back. Okay. And it's that 98 million isn't a surplus. Let's call it fund balance and reserve.
Okay.
So when
All
I'm
right, and
talking
that's
about,
fine.
yeah, because surplus would mean like net income
Well, and
almost.
that's why I said it,
Like
to make
gross
sure.
profit, yeah.
Yeah.
So reserves is basically, probably in business terms, you could call it your retained earnings, your
Right.
equity, call it your equity.
Okay.
So, at the end of 2023, this is again, just the general fund, and this is all accounts.
Right.
It's gonna be a little less than 86 million now, because we have to post some more expenses.
Right.
So let's just call it 85 million.
Okay.
In general fund reserves, and we want to maintain at least 30 million
Okay. So that's
at
the
any given time.
recommended. Okay.
Yeah, so there's all of your years, and the out years I just increased by 3%, very, very, very conservative,
Okay.
and then just started including some transfers to the capital fund, because that's the other piece of this that's very important. The capital projects fund of the county is the fund that the money in that fund is used for all the projects, like renovation projects, all the improvements, the HVAC improvements, the parking lot improvements, all of those types of projects are paid out of the capital projects fund. That fund is almost entirely funded by monies that have been transferred over the years from our general fund. There's a teeny little bit of video gaming tax revenue that goes into the capital projects fund, and periodically we have some small grants. But if the buildings management department does all their projects, they will spend down that capital projects fund and have no more money to do any of the facilities maintenance work that needs to be done across the county. So that is something to keep in mind as well, which is, I think, why we talked about if we have some interest earned on some of these bigger accounts, maybe put it in our capital projects fund. So
going back to the question, what's our estimate for 24? If we're at 85 right now, by the end of 24, what would it be? And also then what-
76. So just look one column over, 76.
Okay, 76. And then the
And-
excess would be,
44, just go
okay.
down.
And then you had said by 27, if we don't change what we're doing, we're going to be at 0 on excess. And
Yeah, by 2027, if you see that we're in the red, that means we have actually dipped into our 90-day reserves by $500,000.
right. And that's assuming nothing changes, and I can guarantee you. by
Assuming
July-
nothing changes, assuming modest
Right.
increases.
Very conservative, very
Right.
conservative.
Very conservative.
Right. And
Mr.
by
Juby
2 o'clock, it may even change, so.
Ms. Juby is.
So I don't mean to keep revisiting something, but I guess I didn't get an answer to my question. Are we able to, or do we have a mechanism in place where we can restrict the spending of money that we put aside in each department for salaries? Can we restrict that to specific salaries?
We can do anything we want.
Mr. John, yeah.
I think the answer is yes.
Mr. Frank answered that.
We can do anything we want.
SAO Frank, the answer is yes. You would have to create a formal policy. It would only be, and just so we're clear, it would only be binding upon the departments.
Well, the way that the budget works, the county board can set the budget for the entire county, both elected offices and departments. The county board has the final say on the budget, on the appropriation. The county board could set a dollar amount for every office or department. That is the one type of control that the county board has, is on the total appropriation.
All right, Mr. Teffy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, Kathy, this is a great job. I really appreciate this. I think you've laid this out. I'm in complete agreement with your priorities. And I think what you're talking about is the first priority that we really have to deal with is revenue. Is that correct?
Right.
Yes, and if you're going to balance the 2025 budget with reserves.
Okay, and based upon that, you very appropriately show that if we continue on our present path, we're going to have a disaster in just a few years. Now, we need to decide now, the next month or two, not 3 months from now, what our revenue objectives and sources should be for the coming year based upon this plan. To me, we have 3 areas where we can look at that are key revenue sources. One is the PTEL tax increase, which is 3.4%, which would get us about, what, 1.5 million, maybe 2 million?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Okay. Second would be the gas tax that we would have the ability to do. And then the third major discussion has been whether or not we look for a sales tax increase and put some kind of a referendum on the, perhaps the November ballot. Those are our 3 key alternatives that we need to decide upon, because otherwise we're going to go over a cliff in a couple of years. And we need to decide on that so that we can put a plan in place to make some of those things happen. Am I right, Kathy, or?
Yes, I think I've said this before, the simplest way to look at any budget, there's 2 pieces. You either increase revenues or you cut expenses.
Tell me away.
So I think that should be added to that particular aspect of things is something that we should have a serious discussion on, not necessarily today, but certainly in our March meeting.
Well, it will be. Our problem last year was we couldn't make that decision until late in the year, and we need to make that decision early now. Mr. Leonard, or speak?
Go ahead. Did you have one? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Hopkinson, I have a question for you on your forecast, which I totally understand and agree with on page 308. When we go into a deficit on our 90-day target, how does that affect us from a credit rating or anything else?
Well, it'll affect us obviously from a credit rating standpoint, but I mean that at that point, in 2028, you're cutting expenses in the general fund in a significant way, which means you're eliminating positions.
Yeah, so we can't get to that point because many things would be very detrimental to the county, including our credit rating and also our ability to staff properly. So I understand where you're coming from.
Ms. Bates, did you have comment? Very good. Mr. Froth again.
Sorry, that's, versus what Mr. Tepe, I think we also need to look hard at the expense side. By meeting with a lot of the directors across the county, I have identified a lot of efficiency opportunities. One, for example, I have started asking the question, are we 100% LED lights? No. And then recently, and there again, I don't have exact facts, but it's currently costing us close to $1 million a year not having that. And the investment in that's a quick payback. Basically, I think it was a 2.5-year payback. And saving $1 million a year will add up. And then there's other ones. The others, we need to continue to introduce best practices, because a lot of the departments, it's similar to what I faced at Sears. I was always told, we've always done it that way. We can't continue doing that. And we need to look at, okay, where are opportunities to be more efficient? So I think we need to add that in addition to the revenue.
Thank you. All right, any other? Kathy, back to you.
Well, so I think my question is a budget of 125 million, the budget for the general fund? I think that's my biggest question. And does the board intend to fund it with reserves?
Well, we need to put in place at our next meeting to have our alternatives that we can look at as to what we can do and what kind of dollar amount to bring in. So
I think maybe I would recommend that we start with this, because you could always change whether you're gonna, what is the source of revenue. But I think we have to start somewhere with the departments. And if we ask them to build a budget at this level, I think that would be a good guide.
Very good. And I think we need to do that at our next meeting. Oh,
We'll do.
Mr. Lawson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just if I can offer a suggestion, I certainly agree with Kathy that the book value of, let's see, it's on page 310. So I guess advance forward 2 slides. The interest income calculation accurate according to generally accepted, accounting procedures. And those have to be followed for the published financial statement. But the most use for board members, I would suggest, is the cash that you have available. You budget based on cash. And the interest income, however you decide to spend it. No preferences from my standpoint. It's not my role, it's your role. And I recognize that. But 12.5 million is projected for interest income. And I think that you need to keep your eye on what's the cash number, not that accrual number, even though the accrual number is going to adjust the cash upward. You won't be able to spend that. The idea of mark to market at the end of the year, yes, you have to do that, but you can't, that's a bookkeeping entry. That is not a board cash budget thing. So it's 12% or it's 10% of your budget. 10% of your budget is what 12.5 million of 125 million. So keep your eye on the cash if you wouldn't mind the suggestion.
You're right. What that is just covering the liability that we have with our income. So we know what's in those accounts, and that's what we can work with, not the other. Yes, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Ms. Hopkinson was sort of looking for a bit of a consensus from us to move in this direction. And from the conversation, I would guess that we do have that consensus. I would just throw in a little bit of support for Mr. Roth's idea of the sort of the staggering of the vacancies. I mean, maybe the greater of one vacant position or 2% of the total budget, not to exceed 4 total positions. Some language like that might be helpful just to, so there isn't that big jump, but it does sound like we do have consensus, I think, amongst this committee to move forward in this direction.
Kathy, you got that?
Yep, I can make that edit.
Any other comments? Obviously as a committee, the most important thing we do all year is this budget. Basically our meetings all we do is approve something that had already been budgeted. So our meetings are, we go through the vote and spend the money, but it's already been approved. And the only way it's going to be approved is through this budget process. And I think it's important that we, as we set up the plan this year, Kathy, that we certainly come up with our revenue first. Go from there. And that was our problem last year, delayed our entire year, and we don't want to do that again. Any other
Right.
comments? Can we move on from Kathy's report? Wow. Item 9, new business. Item A, a resolution authorizing revision of the Kane County budget policy for emergency appropriations and transfers. Need a motion and a
Debbie moves.
Leonard will second.
discussion?
One,
Leonard.
one point I'd like to make on that, Mr. Chairman. With respect to the revision in this, I noticed that it's got to go through committee structure, which I agree with. And then the board, it has to be I believe, a 2/3 majority vote.
Okay.
That the change, the major change in this?
Yeah, if I can, I think is Steve Ford there? Yes, Steve Ford and I, and Caitlin Vargas have worked on this together, but since Steve is there, I'll let him talk.
All right, we have another comment.
Yeah, ASA Stephen Ford. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just would note that, yeah, the provision of the county's code, the state law that contemplates certain transfers being made does reference that two-thirds majority. And I think the way the resolution is written, it essentially is identical to the requirements in statute.
Thank you. County board.
To the county board, right. We're making a recommendation to the county board.
We're just moving them forward.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
He left the room.
She'll be back.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Tepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Miss Juby, do you want to vote on
Let me look, what are we voting on?
the very?
Item A, a resolution.
Actually,
Item B, an ordinance abating the taxes heretofore levied for the year 2023 to pay debt service on $7,670,000 in the general obligation alternate bonds. These are Riverboat Revenue Alternate Revenue Source, Series 2010 of the County of Kane, Illinois. So this is just an ordinance abating those taxes. We have a motion and a second.
Sanchez moves.
Lewis will second.
Sanchez and Lewis, discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby,
Aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges. Mr. Surges. Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. Thank you. Item C, an ordinance abating the taxes heretofore levied for the year 2022-3 to pay the debt service on $9,045,000 general obligation alternate bonds, a state income tax alternate revenue source of Series 2021 of the County of Kane. It's abating the tax. Do we have a motion and a second?
Juby moves.
Tepe
Rudy?
seconds.
Deputy, discussion?
Discussion, Mr. Chair, Surgeon.
Surges, yes.
I do apologize. I was pushing buttons and it would not chime in. I was a yes on the last vote and prepared to vote on this one. I apologize.
Very good. You have that. Roll call, please.
Juby,
Aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Sturgis, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Passes.
Item D, a resolution authorizing supplemental appropriation of budget adjustments for the Public Defender's Office.
Leonard moves.
Leonard moves.
Lewis
Tepe seconds.
Okay. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
Aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Sturgis, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. E is a resolution authorizing budget adjustment to account for additional revenue and the expense related to staff increases and commodity increases for the Juvenile Justice Center of $548,092.
Pepe moves.
Pepe moves.
Sanchez second.
Sanchez, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby? Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis?
Burgess, yes.
Pepe?
Pepe, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes. F, a resolution authorizing the fiscal year 2024 budget adjustment to public safety sales tax funds related to the fiscal year 2023 projects, $600,000.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Lewis seconds.
Lewis, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby?
Juby, I.
Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis?
Burgess, yes.
Pepe?
Pepe, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes.
Passes.
H, a resolution amending, excuse me. G, a resolution authorizing fiscal year 2024 budget adjustment to information technology capital funds related to the fiscal year 2023 project, $116,623.
Leonard moves.
Leonard moves.
Juby, second.
Dewey, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby?
Juby, I.
Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis?
Burgess, yes.
Pepe?
Pepe, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes. H is a resolution authorizing amending the fiscal year 2024 budget to provide riverboat funding for the Geneva Creek Stabilization Project next door for $250,000.
Leonard moves.
Lewis seconds.
Leonard moves, Lewis, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby?
Juby, I.
Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis?
Yes.
Pepe?
Pepe, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes.
Passes.
I, as a resolution authorizing the execution collective bargaining agreement between the County of Kane, Kane County Sheriff, and Policemen's Benevolent Labor Committee of the Kane County Sheriff's Office Correction Officers, and there's no amount. The motion to approve.
Lewis moves.
Lewis,
Juby, second.
Juby, second. Thank you.
Sorry.
Mr. Chair, I believe this was the resolution of the new contract, was it not?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Okay, just,
No one, there's no amount.
it's the one that
associated
Kathy
with
said
it.
was about $900,000 going back through.
Twenty-three is
last
gonna
year.
go into the 20, or the 900,000 is gonna go in the 23 budget, and then a 4% increase in 24.
The 900,000 was the specific identified amount, I believe, of the retroactive pay adjustment.
Correct.
941,000.
Right, but the contract also contained the percentage
Yes.
increases.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby?
Juby, I.
Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis?
Burgess, yes.
Pepe?
Pepe, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes. J. A resolution authorizing acceptance of the National Association of County and City Health Officials Infection Prevention and Control Learning Collaborative Project Grant of the IPC-LCP. It's a grant of $80,000.
Pepe moves.
Lewis seconds.
Deputy Lewis, discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby?
Juby, I.
Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis?
Yes.
Pepe?
Pepe, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes. K, a resolution approving a budget adjustment for software service agreements, $575,581.
Juby
moves.
moves.
Lewis,
Lewis.
Lewis moves.
Juby
and
moved.
Lewis.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby?
Juby, I.
Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis?
Yes.
Pepe?
Pepe, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes. And L is a resolution authorizing execution of documents related to the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Award and agreements for the King County to lead a coalition, including other municipal and county entities.
Pepe moves.
Deputy moves.
Leonard,
Leonard,
second.
second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
GBI.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Burgess, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. Item M is a resolution authorizing renewal of contract for health insurance broker and consulting services not to exceed $114,000.
Burgess moves.
Sturgis,
Leonard
Leonard,
seconds.
discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
GBI.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Burgess, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. N is a resolution authorizing renewal of a contract for continuum of care support services for 2024, $33,000.
Burgess moves.
Leonard seconds.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
GBI.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Burgess, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. O is a resolution notification of renewal of drug and alcohol evaluation and referral services, RFQ number 33-021. No dollar amount.
Juby moves.
Judy
Leonard
moves.
seconds.
Leonard, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
GBI.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. P is a resolution authorization of extension of a contract lifting and repair services agreement for the Mill Creek Special Service Area, bid number 09-020, $30,000 per year.
Leonard moves.
Lewis, seconds.
Leonard Lewis, discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
GBI.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. Q, resolution authorizing an extension of authorize the contract extension for architect, engineer, and construction manager at Risk Service Contracts, RFQ number 42-020 of not to exceed $700,000.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez,
Lewis, second.
Lewis, discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby,
GBI.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. R is a resolution authorizing a contract extension for security cameras and building access control systems, bid number 30-019, $750,000 not to exceed.
Juby moves.
Judy,
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez, discussion? Roll call.
Juby,
GBI.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. S is a resolution authorizing extension of contract for audiovisual services, equipment maintenance, and repair, bid number 33-019. $150,000 not to exceed.
Juby moves.
We have a motion to second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
GBI.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. T is a resolution authorizing a contract for fire protection service, amending contract bid number 23-043, not to exceed $500,000.
Leonard moves.
30 seconds.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
GBI.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. Thank you. U is a resolution authorizing a contract for the fire alarm system upgrade, bid number 24-011-TK of $2,720,194. We have a motion.
Juby moves.
Judy? Need a second.
Leonard.
Sturgis
Leonard,
seconds.
second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. Thank you. V is a resolution authorizing a contract for Kane County Installation and Fire Stopping Service bid number 24-007-TS, $100,000.
Lewis moves.
Lewis moves.
Sanchez, seconds.
Sanchez, second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. W is a resolution authorizing a contract for the Information Technology Department for uninterruptible power supply, a UPS system replacement for installation RFP number 24-012-KK, $130,430.
Leonard moves.
Leonard moves.
Lewis seconds.
Lewis, second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. And item X, a resolution authorizing a contract extension for Mill Creek SSA brush pickup services with the date correction. Anyway, it's for $29,906.49.
Leonard moves.
Lewis, a second.
Leonard, Lewis, discussion. Roll call.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. Y, a resolution approving a bottled water delivery service contract with DS Services of America Incorporated, doing business as Primo Water North America of Tampa, Florida, for a countywide bottled water delivery program, bid number 24-018-DK, $31,913.40 per year.
Lewis moves.
Lewis,
Juby, seconds.
Juby, discussion? Roll call.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
No.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. Z is a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between McHenry County, Illinois and Kane County, Illinois for the reciprocal housing of prisoners.
Leonard moves.
Leonard moves.
Juby, seconds.
Second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe, Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. AA. A resolution authorizing expenditure of funds for furniture installation related services with fellows through OMNIA Partners, $250,000.
Lewis moves.
Lewis moves.
Juby, second.
Juby, second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. AB, a resolution authorizing expenditure of funds and using a joint purchase agreement for the purchase of furniture installation and related services from Midwest Office Interiors.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez,
Lewis.
Lewis. Discussion. Roll call.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. AC, a resolution authorizing expenditure of funds and using a joint purchase agreement for the purchase of maintenance, repair, and operations, supplies, equipment through Lowe's Pro, $75,000.
Lewis moves.
Lewis,
Juby seconds.
Juby, discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman is, yes.
Passes.
Oh, item AD, a resolution authorizing expenditure of funds for Laserfish Software Systems renewal with OPG-3 Incorporated, $70,000. Leonard,
Sanchez, seconds.
Sanchez, second discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. AE is a resolution authorizing an update to the rabies vaccine fee.
Sanchez
Juby?
moves.
Oh,
Juby seconds.
all right. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. AF, a resolution authorizing the Building Maintenance Department to participate in the Omnia Joint Purchasing Agreement with Amazon Services LLC Online Marketplace, $50,000.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez,
Pepe, seconds.
Pepe, discussion, roll call.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Passes.
AG, excuse me. Yeah, AG. Approval to purchase a replacement vehicle for the Kane County Sheriff's Office, $94,476.
Leonard moves.
Juby seconds.
Sonny, Juby. Discussion, roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. AH, a resolution approving the purchase of 3 replacement vehicles for Kane County Court Services, $94,476.
Pepe moves.
Pepe,
Juby seconds.
Juby second, discussion, roll call, please.
The same number to use.
Juby, Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe, Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. And AH, resolution,
AI.
AI, resolution authorizing purchase of 4 vehicles for the sheriff's office, $232,143.
Leonard moves.
Juby seconds.
Discussion, roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Passes.
I feel like I missed one, but I don't know where it is.
Not yet.
AJ is a resolution authorizing additional spending for the Kane County General Construction Services with Industrial Construction Services Incorporated, the MRRW Corporation Services bid number 23-032, $200,000. We have a motion.
Moves. Sanchez.
Sanchez,
Juby seconds.
okay. Discussion. Roll call.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Yeah.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Passes.
AK, a resolution authorizing additional spending from fiscal year 2024 budget for the Kane County Elevator Preventive Maintenance Service, bid number 23-011, $698,324.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez,
Lewis second.
Lewis, discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Passes.
AL, a resolution approving the county board personal expense voucher reimbursement request of $90.83.
Leonard moves.
Leonard moves,
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez second, discussion, roll call. Excuse me,
I just
Sanchez.
have one thing. I'm not opposed to any of these kinds of personal expense vouchers. I do think though, when board members or board chair attend events and are representing the county in some way, that it'd be good and helpful to come back with something to let us know, hey, what did you learn at that session? You know, what were you there representing? So I'm not, again, I'm not going to vote against any of these, but just going forward for anybody that has these types of reimbursement requests, I think it would be useful to know what it is. What, you know, why did we need to, you know, cover the costs and what did we get out of it? So just something for us to think about going forward.
Duly noted. We travel so much.
I mean, you're talking like a paragraph or a couple of.
Yeah, it's an
sentences,
update.
yeah.
I think, you know, that's something we should consider. Obviously, we have to approve it as a board. We might as well, we should put that in there that we get a, at least a one sentence.
Pick up time at a meeting.
Very good, Mr. Sanchez. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis.
Yeah.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Passes.
And AM, a resolution authorizing opioid response community implementation project, $222,159.31.
Sanchez moves.
Lewis will second.
Sanchez, Lewis, discussion. Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis.
Yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Passes.
Thank you. And AN, a
Yeah,
resolution
we're
approving.
almost done.
We're almost done.
We just did a.
Well,
Not if we keep talking.
Oh, never.
you haven't heard my comments. And a resolution approving the county board personal expense voucher for a reimbursement request of $97.89.
Lewis moves.
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez, discussion, roll call.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. AO, a resolution approving county board personal expense voucher reimbursement request of $122.37.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez,
Lewis,
Lewis, discussion, roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. And AP is a resolution approving county board personal expense voucher reimbursement request of $1,332.80, and this requires two sentences. We have approval, motion to approve.
Lewis,
Lewis,
Sanchez.
Sanchez, discussion, roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. AQ, here we are. AQ, a resolution approving the county board personal expense voucher reimbursement request of $67.57.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez,
Lewis will second.
Lewis, discussion, roll call.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Sturgis,
Yes.
Pepe,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Chairman Shepro,
Yes, Mr.
are
Shepro.
any, or I didn't see, are any of the expense vouchers from any members of this committee?
No,
Okay,
no.
otherwise I would suggest, yeah, that they would recuse themselves from voting if that were the case.
Very good. That's, we'll remember that in the future. I have no old business. AQ, that's, I don't think that's the longest we've
Yes.
had an agenda for our
I
finance.
have a
committee.
suggestion about that, but we could talk about it after the
All
meeting.
right. I have no old business. Motion to reports on file.
Sanchez asked for unanimous consent. Place reports on file.
We're looking for unanimous consent. Everybody agree? Reports will be placed on file by unanimous consent. My comment as the committee chairman are, is that we all understand the most important thing that we do here is this budget. And the most important part of it is determine what our revenue is going to be. So I think keep that in our mind for our next meeting. Executive session, not to my knowledge. Public comments, I don't see anyone. Motion to adjourn.
Go ahead, Sanchez.
I
Sanchez
think
moves.
Hopkinson just raised her hand for that, yes.
Oh, is that for motion to adjourn? Very good. Sanchez. All
we
those
have
in
a
favor
second?
say aye.
Aye.
You have a second?
Yeah, somebody.
Sturgis, yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Third second, all said aye.
We got you once.
Paragraph, if we made.
Thank you, guys.
9A ordinance